We're going to do a quick update real quick. So I've tested this and this as an end-fed half wave. Wired this up with 49-to-1, just like everything I found online said to do. You've got 2 primary turns and then 14 total turns, so 2 plus 12. And then I've got the same thing you see here in here. So these were just 2 things that I 3D printed really quick. This one, I 3D printed it. It actually came, and I guess you just stick the wire out the top was the way they had it set up. I drilled 2 holes here and put some studs in. One for this antenna wire, and then one for a ground plane if I wanted it. I like having the option of a ground plane. I also 3D printed this. So this is I don't have a ferrite yet, but this one, and I don't know if I can get this apart. Oh, anyway, the ferrite core goes in here. Your BNC adapter goes in here, and then your antenna comes out a hole here. So the idea is it kind of reels up on itself, so I kind of like the idea of that. Now, these 2 did not work, mostly because this ferrite don't work. So it's the wrong one. It's something I scavenged from something. I was like, you know what, I'm going to give it a shot just to see if it'll work or not. So that's what that is. That was not a waste of time. It just told me that won't work. Another thing that I've done is printed more of these for my little 12-volt batteries, so I'm going to mess with those. I also ordered a solar charge controller that works with lithium batteries. The idea being I want to be able to charge the little 12-volt batteries I've got for tools, but I want to be able to charge it with whatever I have access to. Solar charge controller will charge lithium batteries, and from what I understand, I can just plug it into a 12-volt lithium battery and it will charge it. Being as long as the charge controller is an MPPT style, and it will charge lithium. So if it's rated to charge lithium batteries, it should charge those. The idea being whatever power source I have to charge the batteries. The solar charge controller doesn't necessarily have to have solar panels. I can use 12-volt car power coming from an alternator. I can use a laptop power supply plugged into AC. I can use, basically anything as a solar panel, and it'll give me a way to charge my batteries on the go. The next thing that I was running into is I was using paracord and tying it to a rock and trying to throw it up in a tree, and I'm terrible at that. I'd sit there and look like an idiot forever. So I got online, and this is what I ended up with. So this is a it's like a fishing thing. So you've got like a dart type deal with a hook that hooks into this string right here, and you just pull it back like a slingshot. Now, it looks like I've got this backwards, but what I found is you pull this back like that, and the string comes in there, and you basically shoot it out that way. And believe it or not, that goes really, really far. It really shoots that thing a long way. I am going to change the reel. This is just a standard reel thing for like a fishing pole, and this is a piece of crap, but it does sort of work. So I'm going to try to find me a little bit better one. And it also came with like basically string. Let me see if I've got the drag set stupid on this thing. So yeah, it's just basically string that comes out of it, and it ties on the end of these. It came with 3 of these little fishing things, and it had a barb right here. These thread off of this thing, so I just threaded it off and took the barb off. And I'm probably going to take this and at least one of them just kind of blunt it so it don't stab into something. But I've been playing with that, and I mean, you can get way up in a tree with this, and you can do it fairly accurately. And like I said, if you put it in the other way, so the opposite of this, then what you end up with is, for some reason, every time I did that, the string would somehow always get tangled up in this. So it would shoot 5 feet and just stop, and then you'd have to detangle this. But if you put it backwards, sorta, and wrap it around here, then it doesn't do that. Another neat thing is, like I said, this is made for fishing, actually. So if you are taking, if you're going camping, honestly, that would probably be a lot of fun. Way to catch fish. If you wanted to, while you were out camping and playing radio, you'd have another option. It also came with these things that are made for like steel shot, and I think it came with like 100 little clay shot balls that you can play with. And it was like $30. So just an idea, a way to get something up in a tree. I may take this off of it just to make it a little more compact. And this is just a standard scope mount that goes onto a thing here, and it's threaded with a little thumb screw. I may grab like a cheap quick detach. They've got them that just have a lever, so you can just lever it on there. This does take up a lot of room, so I'm not sure if this will go with my kit, but it's probably something I'll shove in my truck, and it's cheap enough that I could buy multiples of it. I will replace this with some really nice fishing line, something that's made to not break. There's some stuff I've seen that I've fished with that you can't break it. This stuff you could break, I think, pretty easily. So I'll replace the reel and the string with something a little bit less susceptible to breakage. But nifty little thing. Actually got me into playing with slingshots a little bit. I had a ball with this thing, just goofing around with it today. These do unscrew a little bit too easily, so I'm probably going to thread lock or maybe grab some fingernail polish or something and just, hit those threads to where it kind of stays a little bit better. But like I said, it does come with barbs, but I don't know, it just looks like a nifty little thing, and that gets way up in a tree, so you can shoot it up in a tree, and then you could unscrew this if you want to, or tie your string onto something else and pull your paracord through. So, without getting a ladder, and you can buy these things, it's like $13 or $14 for 20 of them or something crazy like that. So I'll probably buy more of them. It did come with like a pouch, and it came with 3 of these, but the pouch holds like 20. So I'll probably buy some more of them just to play with. But for getting an antenna up in a tree, or, if you're wanting to saw a tree down or something, this looks like a pretty nifty way to get a throw line up into a tree. So just something to think about. I do have some ferrites ordered and on the way that I'm going to build another couple of these with actual Type 43 ferrite cores. So I'm going to build one of these, and then I've got another one of these 3D printed as well. So there's 3 antennas that I'm going to build there. But yeah, that's pretty much what I've got here lately. So I've got my printer at work kind of chewing through some parts too that I'm going to add into this, and then I've got a version of this that I'm building. This one's really small. I figure for the G90 it'd be perfect as far as size goes, and it would slide into the case pretty easily. I'm probably going to build one similar to this where I've got a stud here, here, and here with 2 cores, or set it up to where it can be a dipole as well as an end-fed. So when your line comes up through here, I could solder on your connector here, you'd have one wire going into the toroid like this, and then one going into a second stud over here, and then one, the shield, going over here. So you would actually be able to pull a dipole from this stud and this stud, and then if you wanted to do an end fed, it would go through the toroid over to this stud and ignore these two. So it would be like a double duty little box. You'd be able to do a center fed or an end fed dipole with one device and two wires. And essentially, if you had two sets of wires, which these are 14 gauge speaker wire, I'll probably order like 1,000 foot of like 20 gauge or something. But you would be able to connect, if you were doing end fed, you could connect, say, 66 feet to here, and you've got 40 and down. And if you wanted to do 80, you would connect the two wires together. So you'd have 66 plus 66, and you'd have 80 meter on your end fed. Or you could do 66 on one side, 66 on the other, and now you've got, well, 66 going through this stud, actually, if you were doing a center fed. So you do one side of your dipole here, one side of your dipole there, and if you had two 66 foot sections, you'd have an 80 meter dipole, and it would actually skip the balun. From what I've seen, I did order some one-to-one baluns for a center fed dipole. Everything that I've seen is they're almost unnecessary. I really don't see the need for them. So this would essentially just skip the balun altogether. And I could put like a switch on here if I wanted to, maybe, to disable the toroid so it doesn't connect through there. But I'm not sure if that would be necessary. It might just be something that it just goes here and here, and it might energize this too. I don't know, but I'm going to give it a shot and try. That's the beauty of having a 3D printer. Ordering a lot of this crap off the internet, so I've got 30 of these. And, you know, ordering wire in bulk to where I can just build whatever I want to. So I'm going to try multiple things. And having a 3D printer, and you know, I am printing all this in PLA, but so far it's done fine for what I'm doing. And once I get it kind of perfected, instead of using PLA, I'll probably go to something like ASA or ABS or something like that. So yeah, there's that. Now this one is pretty small. I think it's made for either a 140 or a 240 toroid. I'm gonna basically copy this, but I think what I'm going to do is put the BNC, instead of coming through here, it'll come through the side somewhere, and I'm going to put a little thing on it where I can roll it up. Somebody makes one like it. I forget who, something like, I can't remember the name, Wood Beater, I don't remember the name of it, but there's a guy that makes one that's like a real one. And I've also got this one that I've not even used yet, that I could use as well. So that one's pretty compact, but I don't know, just it's a good idea, but I don't like the reel on it, and I want to be able to use my own wire. This one you'd have to take it apart to get the wire, and I'm not really sure about that. And I also want to use stainless steel wire that would wrap over on itself. So what I'm thinking is set it up to where this, you'd have this, but you'd actually have a bigger toroid, so it would have to be wider. And if you make this wider for a bigger toroid, you've got more room for wire on it as well. So, you know, you double this, you can double the capacity of the wire. So if I wanted to, I could use 14 gauge, which there are benefits to going a little bit thicker from what I understand, or I could use stainless steel wire, and as long as the stainless steel wire is still wired, or, you know, coiled up here and touching itself where it's not insulated, then you would have essentially the start of your antenna would come from this. So I'll probably end up 3D printing something similar to that here pretty soon, where I've got a different option there. And the toroid that I found is actually cheaper. I ordered some of the 140s, which is what everybody uses for like 100 watt or 20 watt toroids, and then you go to the 240s, but there's a video I watched, and I'll throw a link on the description somewhere, but there's one that's actually quite a bit thicker and bigger than even the 240 toroids, and it shows, there's a guy that tested this toroid, and it had better performance. He could run it at, FT8 or 100 watt digital mode, full blast, and it would get warm, but it never actually had a problem. So it was more efficient than your 140s and 240s that everybody uses, and it's quite a bit bigger. And the other benefit is I ordered 10 of them, and they were like $5 a piece. So they're actually cheaper than, I think, the 140 toroid, which is quite a bit smaller than this one, was in the neighborhood of $8. I think I ordered 3 of those. And then the 240 I was going to order, but then when I saw this one, the 240s are $15 a piece on Amazon, $15. This one was $5, so it was cheaper than the 140, cheaper than the 240, and bigger than both, and more efficient than both. So for, $5 and some change, I think shipping and all from DigiKey, it was like $64 for 10 of them. So that's a lot of antennas that I can build for $64. So either way, the smaller toroids that I've got coming, I'm going to build one of these, I'm going to build one of these, and I'm going to build one of these for the 3 that I've got coming. And then the bigger ones, I've got 10 coming, and I'll basically make a bigger version of one of these, and probably a bigger version of one of these. So I'll end up with a bunch of different antennas, but either way. But yeah, I just wanted you to see a few little odds and ends that I've been working on. Like I said, the scavenged ferrite core did not work. This is an iron, I think, ferrite core, and it just didn't work. So it was worth a shot. All it took was a little bit of time and a little bit of effort. So I'll get rid of that, probably disassemble this at some point, and just unwind all that and put it on a different toroid. But this thing, something you can throw in your car, get way up in a tree, way better than you normally can. So around the house, what I've been doing is just using a ladder. And, I don't like heights. So being able to just stay on the ground and shoot this up there and get into something that, would normally be a lot harder to do, I like the idea of that. And the thing is, these things are cheap enough. This little, look at that, I've already got a mess. This little dart thing, they're cheap enough that I can buy multiples. If I lose one in a tree, I don't care. It's not a big deal. It, might be kind of annoying, but if you buy enough of them where you've got plenty on hand, then, if you start getting low, you just order more. And they're cheap enough that you can order more. And I think they're made, they're made for fishing. So you might shoot at a fish and get it lodged in a tree and have to cut your line or whatever. So they're made cheaply enough that it's not the end of the world if you lose one. And so if I wanted to modify one, so like I already took the little barb off of this, what I might do is, that's kind of a sharp edge there that'll catch on stuff. And I know that'll catch on stuff too, but unfortunately that's about the only way you're going to get it on that slingshot deal. So I might take some of these and just do a little bit of TLC and make a few darts that will kind of glide over tree limbs a little bit better. So instead of having that sharp edge there, I might take that, stick it on my lathe or my drill or whatever, and just, smooth a lot of that out. I might even smooth that out just a hair to where it's not quite as sharp and catchy. And then I might dull this a little bit so I don't shoot into a tree and just stab it. Granted, at that distance, I don't think that would be an issue. But anyway, kind of a neat little deal for 30-something bucks off of Amazon. I figured it was worth a shot. So just a way to get infeds up in the tree or dipoles or whatever it is you're trying to launch. So, but yeah, that's it. Y'all have a great day and Happy New Year.